Right?
I don't do slides.
Yeah.
I've done slides my entire life. I don't do slides anymore. Me and PowerPoint have a very complicated relationship. Happy Friday, everyone. It's almost a full house. And it's a great way to end the week. So turn to your neighbor and give your neighbor a high five. Either one. Either one is fine. You made it here. The weekend is near. The weather is good. And hopefully you'll have a good talk. Creative Mornings, the way I understand it, is about staying in touch with your community, with similarly or like-minded people. It's about creating new networks. It's about having good breakfast. It's about, or free breakfast. It's about also being inspired. So I'll do my best to inspire you in today's talk. And I want to give special thanks to Harald and Lisa and Eva and the Creative Mornings team that's working so hard to make this happen. It's a lot of work to set up an event like this. It looks always very flawless, and if you don't see any issues, then you know they have worked very hard. So, thank you. The theme today is a tricky one, and I said yes to speaking before I knew what the theme was. It makes it a little bit more trickier. So when the invite went out and the event on Facebook said, broken, Asil Toksal, I had a lot of messages coming in that were asking me if everything is okay. Friends were worried. They were like, are you okay? Do you need money, or do you have like sickness or something going on that we should know of? Do you need support? So it's good to know that I have friends like that. But I was like, no guys, everyone chill out. Everything is cool. It's just about talking about, the challenges in life and how we go through them, or how I went through them. So broken can mean a lot of things. It could be something about the past. It could be something about the present. I believe it's strongly subjective. And I like the term of not flowing better than broken. Not flowing seems a little bit more fixable. It seems a little bit more temporary. Broken sounds a little bit more like, oh, it's a broken TV, just throw it away. We can't do that easily with our lives. So I'll talk a little bit about that, how you can get from a state of not flowing to a state of more flowing. So I'll give you a little bit of a background of who I am, what I do. I think there is a bio, which is, I tried to compress it as much as I could. There's an interview. But I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've started a couple of companies. I'm a medicine man. I've been trained to do shamanic work, and within these two experiences, they are like very, very far apart labels. So if people ask me at a dinner party or the cocktail party, what do you do? It's a really hard question to answer. And you can imagine it always lands in interesting conversations, either about seed funding or they land in conversations about alien encounters. So it's far, far apart, depending on where the people want to go in terms of the conversation. So I think in general, what people are interested in is, how do you push personal boundaries? How do I push my limitations in my life? How do I overcome challenges? How do I keep a balance while, running companies and doing other things to develop further as a human being? And my answer to that is to say yes to the craziest things that land on my desk or on my lap. So I'm a little bit of a yes man. Did you guys see that movie with Jim Carrey where he gets into trouble by saying yes to everything? You guys seen that? Yeah. Don't do it, or do it if you want to try it out. I was born and raised in Vienna, but I speak English because I've lived in the US for a long time, and I learned English at school, luckily. I've lived in Singapore and in Asia for a bit, and now I'm living a lot more out of my suitcase, traveling across the world, holding retreats and talks, etc. As an entrepreneur, I started companies in the US and Europe. I'm still advising some companies. As a medicine man, I've been in the jungle, in the mountains, in the reservations of the tribes, just really with an open mind, diving into what's available in the world. There's a lot of really interesting stuff out there. Just an encouragement to open your mind and your heart and maybe your wallet to travel and see some things that are out there. Some friends like to joke, they like to say, oh, you've walked the concrete jungle and you've walked the real jungle. And I say, yeah, it's kind of true. It's true. Today's focus is less about the actual stories. I'll talk a little bit of stories, and you can ask in the QA as well specifics. And also afterwards, if you're shy, you can ask me too. Or you can write me on Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever, email. I don't do Snapchat though. That's how you know I'm older generation. I'm not the Snapchat generation. I'm okay with Instagram though. So, my first company I started when I was 21. It was a biofuels company. It was clean tech. I thought, I'm going to save the world. That's how I'm going to do it. Started a clean tech company. And I worked very hard, raised a lot of money on bank credits. Back then there was no angel investors. There was nothing like that. So it all worked with banks. And then this hard work for me paid off. About 2 years after starting the company, I was able to sell it. And it was quite a blessing and a curse at the same time. I realized I have this nice apartment, I have great friends, I have beautiful cocktail parties, and this feeling of I have made it lasted only for a bit, and it was like a decreasing happiness. I don't know if that resonates with some of you. So you set a goal, you achieve it, and then you realize, hold on, something about that goal was not right. So my rationalization was, well, since I have achieved the work part, it must be my environment. So everything is wrong about my parents, everything is wrong about my friends, everything is wrong about Vienna and Austria. Here comes the interesting part. I left Austria, I went to the US, I thought, I'm going to start everything from scratch. I'm going to just start a new family, I'm going to start new friends, I'm going to start new businesses, everything from scratch, and we're going to see where that goes. So I started a company there, worked with some of the biggest clients, won an Emmy Award for MTV, and then I realized even that level of I've made it, or that level of happiness where society says, awesome man, I realized, yeah, really, but it doesn't feel like that. And the interesting thing about achieving goals is, and in my case, achieving goals and feeling happiness, it gets shorter and shorter, the amount of time that you're happy afterwards. So you realize relatively quickly, oh shit, this wasn't it. So what am I going to do now? So the question was, what's wrong with me? And people ask me that too. My friends ask me, what is wrong with you? Like, you have everything. People would kill to be in your position. So I felt like an ungrateful asshole. I'm like, something's wrong with me. And then people suggested I should go to a psychotherapist, which is what I did for a while. And they gave me a beautiful medication that calmed me down and made sure I didn't ask questions that would bother the society and my friends and my community or my family. So they could rest in peace while I'm sedated. So I realized this wasn't the solution. So I dropped all of that stuff and I went on to a journey into the self, because I realized in all of these situations that I've been in, the only constant was this. The only constant was me. So it's got to be something inside here that's not quite working well. That whatever I get, I'm not really happy. It got me into Reiki, it got me into meditation, it got me into medicine ceremonies, it got me into hypnosis, crystals and essential oils, angels and tribes. I've been really into Buddhism, Taoist masters in China. I've just really walked a lot of different paths just to find more and more about myself. And I'm not discrediting any of these methods. I think all of these methods had a little bit of a puzzle piece for myself. So I recommend trying out some of these things. It's quite interesting. What I found out was that I was working on that first level of change. The first level of transformation, the cycle of transformation by Hoffman is, and the first step, it's awareness. So I was working a lot on awareness. I was getting awareness on what's not working with me, what's not flowing. And it boiled down to following messages or old beliefs. And they were, you are not lovable. That was a belief that I had. You are not worth it, or you're not worthy. And you don't belong. You don't deserve. So with these beliefs deeply ingrained and rooted, there's really not much you can achieve and be happy, right? It's like whatever you get, even if you're the president of the US, I don't think that's a good job, by the way, but if you are wherever you are, these underlying beliefs will creep through and they will make an impact on how you feel about the situation or your life. So I realized those are the ones that I have to work on. First step, awareness. The second step is expression. In some ways it needs to be expressed and communicated. If there is suppressed feelings or memories, they need to be communicated and talked about or written in some way. The third step is embracing and forgiveness and compassion, which is really interesting. In order for, compassion is the only real thing that can break this triangle of victim, villain, and hero. You guys are familiar with that triangle? Famous psychotherapist Karpman did that triangle. And it's fascinating how I realized how often I was either in one of those three buckets. I was either the victim, or I was the villain, or I was the hero. And in order to break that cycle, compassion needs to develop. So I worked on that. And the last one was out of that cycle of transformation is new behavior. So what do you put into place in order to replace old beliefs? So I would think some of you guys have stories like that or have worked on awareness in that direction. And I'm curious to hear about your stories. But before we get there, I'd like to do a little exercise. You guys have pen and papers? Yes? So my question to you is, what are the top 3 most loving or most loved relationships that you have in your life? Just write the top 3 down. It could be anything you want. Just put them down. You only need 3. For example, your dog, for example. How's it going? Good. It's hard, right? Just 3, yes. You can also just write down 1, it's also okay. So, who's got a parent in there? Parents, yeah? Grandparents, yeah? Siblings or children? Life partners? Friends? Who's got a pet in there? Great. Who's got inanimate objects in there, like a bracelet or something, a memory. So you see there's a lot of things in that top 3 list. Who's got themselves in the list? Good one. So it's really interesting. I was in that same bucket of not putting that down. That we take this relationship with ourselves for granted. We take it for granted. We take it for, oh, it's happening anyway somehow, somewhere. I don't really need to focus or nourish that relationship with myself. And it's a fascinating thing to look at. If you would rate your relationship with yourself from 1 to 10 over the lifetime of your life, what would you say? If 1 would be not a good relationship at all, and 10 would be 100%, I love myself, where would you be? So just think about that for a second. Who is below a 5? Okay. Who is above a 5? Excellent. Who is above an 8? Do we have any 9s and 10s? Wow, great. Good job. Love it. So, personally, my first 10, real 10, happened when I was in North America, in Connecticut. I went to an Indian reservation, a Native American reservation, and they do something there called Teepee Meetings. And Teepee Meetings are ceremonial meetings of the Native American tribes, and they eat a lot of peyote in that teepee. And there's about 60 people that are sitting in a circle, and it starts at sunset. There's a fire in the middle, and they sing like very old songs in Lakota language. And the interesting thing was, none of them had any feathers or were dressed up. Jeans and t-shirt was the highest of my expectations that I saw there. I was like, all right, well, it's not going to be like in a Hollywood movie, so I'm just going to participate. But what was really authentic was the way how serious they took it, and the way they did this ritual as part of a healing and self-reflection. I didn't have any like crazy visions or just like not really a psychedelic experience. But what I had was, I had this feeling of my heart really opening up and filling myself with love. And I had this feeling of that there was an inherent love of the universe for myself. And that was the first time I had that feeling. That was the first time I really understood, wow, I am completely okay. There's nothing broken about me, and I am loved. So that was my first 10. And I was like, wow, great. Now, of course, that doesn't stay for a long time. But what it did for me was it became a compass. It became a guiding light. This is the 10, and this is where I want to go. So, in that sense, a 10 experience could be very, very beneficial as a guidance for you. I was since then able to recreate the 10s through something like meditation, yoga, dieting or fasting. So Vipassana, has anyone done Vipassana silent meditation retreats? 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, 20, 30 days. Have people done fasting, like juice fasting or water fasting? Intense yoga retreats, like a week, a month. Yeah, she's a good one over there. She's done a lot of stuff. She's got probably better stories than I do. So you can get to this level of 10 through other means, and medicine is not always the same. It's not always the only route. For me, it's become a pillar of my life. I see an important aspect of my development, of my way of healing in that. And I'm not always at a 10. I'm not sometimes not even at a 5. Sometimes I wake up in the morning, I look at the mirror, and I'm like, you should just go back to bed. You are not suitable for society. I have those days too. So what I do on a day like that is I try to set my goals realistically. And the realistic goal is not to shoot for a 10, it's just 10% more. Like, if I'm at a 3 today, how can I be a 4? Let me call up a friend, or let me just do a walk in the park, or let me just read something nice or eat something nice to get to from a 3 to a 4. Now, this is the next piece of an exercise. If you would assess your today's state from 1 to 10, where would you be? Just think about it for a second. And if your today's state is wherever it is, a 3 or 7, what would the world look like if you were just 10% more? What if you were not a 7 but you were an 8, or if you were not a 3 but a 4? What kind of decisions would you make today if you were just 10% more in a better relationship with yourself? Just 10%. I'm not asking for the world, but something very small. What kind of people would you hang out with? What kind of business decisions would you make? What kind of emails would you send out, and what kind of emails would you not send out? What kind of food would you eat, and what kind of stuff would you not put into your body? So that's also an important guiding light, as your relationship with yourself defines a lot of your actions in your day. That was also a big one for me, a big understanding. So, has any of you been around someone that is inherently at peace with themselves, like 100%? I mean, we have a lady over there, she's a 10, so you are always in peace with yourself, which is great. But have you guys been around other people that are at a 10, that are always continuously content with themselves, right? Or, in a moment, how does that feel? Like, you want to be around these people more often, right? They are kind of like very grounded. They can listen to you without judgment. Somehow they feel like they can withstand difficult storms of life, or the roller coaster of life. So I believe that people that do meditation or these type of spiritual exercises, they tend to be a lot more steadfast through the challenges of life. So my third and last exercise for you is more of a challenge, because you can't do it right now. It's a 30-day challenge, and you can tell me afterwards if you're up for this challenge. It's a mirror meditation. In the morning, after your shower or before your shower, I want you to look at the mirror about 50 centimeters, 60 centimeters away from your image. Do it in a private setting, because you may get laughters from your flatmates or your life partners in the beginning. Have a look at yourself, look yourself deeply in your eyes. Imagine, just understand the features of your face. Just look at where your eyes come from, your nose, and all of that. Just understand who you are and create an appreciation for that image. And then when you are there, I want you to say, "I love you." And that's going to be very awkward in the beginning. Who's done it? Who's done it? Be honest. Be honest. Okay, great. So I want you to say, "I love you." And I want you to say that a couple of times. And you can even put your name behind. You can say, "I love you, Asil." It's going to be very funny. You may even laugh at yourself or with yourself. It's beautiful. And I want you to do that every day. It doesn't require any money. It doesn't require much time. It's going to take like a minute or so. And you can do it everywhere, because most likely you're going to have a mirror wherever you go in the next 30 days. Right? So no excuses about external circumstances. And if you want to level up a little bit more on this type of mirror meditation, I want you to do it completely naked. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, more interesting. And I would like to know from you guys, the ones that take the challenge, who wants to take this challenge? Oh wow. Excellent. So the ones that are taking this challenge, I want you to let me know, or let the entire Facebook group know where you are at 15 days, how it feels, and if you feel there is a difference on your relationship with yourself. And after 30 days, just be in communication about it. I'm really curious. I've been proposing this exercise all around the world, in New York, in Singapore, and the reactions are different. And sometimes people are very shy about it, and they don't want to admit that it would be good for them. But I think it does change the picture that you have of yourself and the relationship that you have of yourself. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and for your attention. I'm open to any questions that you may have, no matter how difficult those questions may be. Thank you.